Hello everyone, it is Jai from Couch and Keyboard, and here I am to do another Smash player profile. So this one is about Krudo, commonly referred to as Kyle Krudo. So at one point people were saying Krudo. I just call him Krudo. But Krudo's been one of the best players of the past, I guess it depends on your scope, but one of the best Sheiks, and overall just one of the best, like most solid players of the post COVID era of Melee, and did peak at a top 10 at one point. Not the most consistent currently, but still doing very well. Um, you know, I guess that's why he's called Kyle Krudo, because his last name is Krudo. There you go. But yeah, so in Florida, which Florida is one of the most stacked regions currently for Melee. Krudo got his start in 2016. Didn't, get a crazy start in 2016, but, got a plup win at a local. Certainly pretty good. Forest, Akir, pretty solid there. Got a few ranked wins here. 2019 actually got honorable mention. Got 2 top 50 wins here. Plus a couple solid wins across the board. Nothing too crazy. Had a pretty strong start earlier on, but of course this didn't really turn into anything. And then, enter some online stuff. Started doing a little bit better. I think was at Smash World Tour, which that was in Florida, so definitely benefited from that. But I think 2022 was when Krudo definitely started to get more on the map. Like this was certainly good, beating M2K at this was at Smash World Tour, beating Panda, which Panda is one of the better players. As you can see, they played a ton over the years. But yeah, going back, Panda definitely was better at this point, but started to do good. Took a set here and started catching up a little bit. But Panda's still been pretty good. So, Florida's just good overall. And Krudo definitely benefits from being there. But also, he's just a grinder, known for playing at 3 a.m. with some Zins in his mouth. He can be a little bit degen at times. But yeah, 2022 was when he really started turning it around. Most notably getting, 2 fifth places pretty close to each other. Didn't do amazing at Genesis, top 16 didn't do amazing at CEO, top 16 at Genesis. That's pretty good. A couple, didn't do too great at LSI. Not the best here, but SmashCon and Function were both very good tournaments here. SmashCon, it was kind of like you just benefited from things that happened to you. Like, the Wally upset over Zane. Definitely benefited from that. But, also beat Spark. This was a pretty solid win here. I'm not sure if Spark was seeded 10th. I think this was after Function, so probably benefited from this. But this was huge. Beating B-Bats, Pipsqueak, and Cody. Especially this Cody win was a huge deal. Very big. Did lose to Ginger and then Pipsqueak in the run back. Ginger won this event, and Pipsqueak going even with Pipsqueak at this point was very good. So yeah, did lose to Lot and Zane, pretty fine there. Lot has a lot of Sheik experience with Junebug and other Sheiks and all that. So definitely not too bad there. Won a local too, 2023. Won Creed. That was pretty solid. Beat Chem, beat Hacks, beat Crike. Pretty solid there. Nothing too crazy. If we look at, we have ranks here. It did go down a little bit. Was top 25 and then number 31. But, was doing fine. 2024, we look at, wins here and there. Because we can pull up the full things, but, look how many good wins here. This is nuts. Not quite as strong, but Josh Man, Axe, Chem, Ben, Panda, Ossify, these are good wins. 2024, definitely better. We had, winning this Ohan's birthday bash. I think that Zayn wasn't really. I think Zayn went. Don't test me. But beat Kadoran twice and Josh Man. Which, Sheik Marth. Kadoran has struggled with Sheik as a whole. And then Sheik Marth being just seen as fairly Sheik favored. Unless you're a Zayn believer. But also being Josh Man here was pretty cool. I remember 2024, I was doing some coverage, and Krudo won so many freaking regionals. Krudo and Salt were just going to all these regionals, and Krudo was getting all these wins. Now, winning as the 1 seed is not necessarily that impressive. Like, losing to Skurzo, a little bit disappointing here. Like, Skurzo was good. But, you do win the event. You get 2 wins off of Toussaint, 2 off of Skurzo, Calvar. That's good. And then winning against Gingerben, Ossify, winning Altitude Sickness, which we talked about the most recent iteration. Trading sets with Spark, beating Josh Man and Kadoran again, beating SDJ. Just winning a lot of these events, just doing very well. 22 different events. 5th at Supernova, pretty good here. Losing to Mango and Cody, not bad at all. Beat Axe, that was big. 9th at Dome Park, this was a crazy bracket. Beat Kadoran again. Beat Sunsei. Sunsei had been doing very good this year. Some of these were not amazing, but okay, I think this was a DQ, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So some of these didn't do great. Lost to Lucky and Junebug. Genesis, lost to Meds. That was a little bit disappointing. Tipped off. Another Crike win. Lost to Kim in this run back from Creed. And kept losing to Cody because he had that crazy Cody win, but Cody was determined to not lose, and that's been a bit of a tough one. Beating Fiction, very solid. CPU 0, Gatsu in region, only losing to Aklo and Zane. Did lose some in region ones. Moth is a tough one, just because ICs versus Sheik can be a little bit tough. But yeah, had a very solid year. Getting number 18 2024. Multiple Josh Man wins, very, very solid. And then in 2025, definitely had some crazy dubs here. He had a Mango win at one point. I'm trying to figure out what year that was. Maybe that was online. Yeah, I think that might have been online. But either way, 2025 had an excellent year. Got top 10 for the summer. So if you look at 2025, some of these were incredible. Winning some smaller stuff, but most notably the Full Bloom win. Now, Full Bloom has had a history of being Schrodinger's major, where it's you don't know if it is or not. I think it should be. I think that at one time you had Mango, Zane, J-Mook. This time you had Aklo, J-Mook, Salt. I don't know. I feel like Laud. There was a lot of high level players. Krudo, Ossify. I think it's it's just weird because it was kind of similar to Altitude Sickness recently, to where it's okay, if you don't want to call something a major, whatever. I think people were too strict on that. You can just call something a super major if it's deserving of it, and just call more general things a major. I think you're allowed to do that. People got really mad at me and saying I was harming the ecosystem. Whatever, dude. But super regional, national, small major, you can say these things, but I don't want it to take away from the good run that Krudo had here. I mean, look at these wins. This is a great run. Having a few game 5s here. It wasn't dominance, but still very, very strong. And getting a ton of good wins, and this was a big deal. And also getting top 2, some of these. Third at No Johns, lost to Kim, and then did lose to Rat Monster, but beat Slug right before. I think people kind of think of Krudo having a Rat Monster problem, but beating Slug in this matchup, pretty impressive here. And then getting third at Tipped Off. I think specifically the win at Full Bloom and the third at Tipped Off. People can probably argue that Tipped Off, even though they're pretty similar in size, 460, 469, Tipped Off has been known to be very top heavy, and having a lot of people travel to it. Okay, here's the Mango win. I gotcha. I guess Mango wasn't ranked at the time, so it didn't show up in 2025. But Tipped Off here was crazy, crazy good. Getting wins on Wizrobe, Moki, Amsa, Mango, and then losing to Zane and Cody, which were 1 and 2 throughout the entire year. So this was incredible. Yes, Amsa had a rough year. Mango wasn't playing at the best. Wizrobe kind of snuck into the top 10. So maybe these wins might have looked better if they were a different year, but still very, very good. Getting top 10 for the summer. Later didn't do too hot. Did lose to Slug, and Aklo actually beat Rat Monster here. So it's like he wasn't just losing to Rat Monster. I think they're 3-3 lifetime. But yeah, doing okay here and there. Nouns didn't do too hot. They get an SCJ win. Sometimes Sheik Puff can be a little tough, but not too hot here and there. J-Mook and Aura wins were good. But there were some struggles here and there. Hard to be consistent Moth. Again, in region plus being a tough matchup. This Salt in Your Eye loss was definitely discouraging, but went on a really good losers run. Was able to bounce back from a pretty surprising loss. And was starting to kind of fall off a little bit. Some of these didn't do too hot. And losing a Rat Monster, students say that's not bad. It's just unfortunate how early it was. So definitely fell down a little bit, going from 10 to 16th for the year after the summer, and currently this year has done pretty good. There it is. Has done pretty good. Got third at the pre-local, did DQ from here. Smash Valley got third, lost to Slug twice, and Slug lost to Rapim twice. So that can be a little bit. Did beat Sir Maris, who had beaten STJ right before. And then you have these H-Box tournaments, to where if you want to look at 2026 wins, did have this H-Box win at the local there. 3 Wizrobe wins. Pretty good in region. I don't know how much you care about that, but most notably did get a Moki win at Genesis. This was a big deal. Moki coming off of a top 5 finish. Also beat Moki the year before, so he's done pretty good against Moki. 3-0ing in the wins and taking at least a game, if not 2, in the losses. So Krudo seems to be very good at the matchup, at least considering. Has a losing record to Panda, has lost some to Kim, but still is pretty good against Fox, and you need to be. Sometimes Fox can kind of run over Sheiks, just have J-Chu in region, Magi win. I forget where this was. Okay, this was also at Genesis. Gotcha. All right, so that's a big deal. Magi has had some up and down performances, but still very good. So depending on how much you count these, I think Krudo has had a solid year. Definitely not as strong as the first half of last year, but still pretty good. And I think that Krudo is looking to enter more stuff. I know that Krudo usually stays on the East Coast, but did go to Pat's house and did okay. Getting 9th place here, losing to Faust and Fiction. Being Preeminent, that Preeminent win looks better now, with Preeminent doing good. Also, Eddie Mexico win, so all those Rapim losses kind of paid off or something. Top 8 at Genesis. I guess beating Moki and then Magi right after, ending Dial M's run. Another Crike win, which Crike plays Marth, but also goes Ices. So I would assume that Crike would probably go Ices in that matchup. That's just my guess. But yeah. And then top 16 out of the blue. Losing to Osfi and J-Mook, that's not bad at all. So like even his bad performances are not that bad right now. In region, like yeah, does have some losses, but Florida's really strong right now, and also just plays a lot. He's a classic online grinder. People like Mango and Zane, like they're always down to practice with Krudo because Krudo gives valuable experience, not just for the Sheik matchup, but just as a whole. Krudo, like people were not surprised that he did so well at Full House and not Full House, Full Bloom. There's fulls and houses and yeah, and then at Tipped Off, like that 2 tournament run was like okay, like oh shoot, like we got a new kid on the block here. And if we look at Sheiks, like yeah, you didn't really have you had Plup and M2K and a bunch of other Sheiks here. Post COVID, you didn't have too much, and you had Jmook, and then you had left in secondary against Marth, and then Krudo. And then 2023, I think Spark was up at some point. Jmook was third in the world. Plup was still entering a bunch. Yeah, Spark was playing a little bit of Fiction. Krudo was below Ben at this point, which Ben is good. Ben had those Wizard wins at some point. And then we had Jmook still up there, Spark, and then you had Krudo narrowly behind. But for this, at least for the summer, Krudo was the best Sheik in the world. Jmook had a pretty rough stretch. Jmook had an amazing end of the year, especially at the Invitational. So Krudo did end up being second best Sheik, but for a solid part of the year, probably over half of it, was the best Sheik of the year, and that's pretty impressive. So good stuff to Krudo. Currently, it's looking like Spark is having a couple good runs. Did have that Axe win, but didn't do that great at Pat's house. So if you're, I would say Jmook is probably still in the lead for best Sheik currently, but Krudo can definitely do good. I think that, I mean, if you look at, let's see, we had Pat's house. This is a classic thing I do where I go to just a tournament where I know someone was at, and you go and you see upcoming stuff. So it was going to Creed. I was thinking it was going to Creed, which Creed is pretty tough. These Philadelphia tournaments, usually you have, some tri-state, generally just Philadelphia mainly, but you might have some tri-state coming down. You might have RAP-M and some MDVA coming up. And so when you look at some of these attendants, at least in terms of who's registered, this is not a very easy bracket. You have really good ICs. You have Kim, you have HBox, you have Rat Monster, you have Aklo. So this is going to be, and you also have Jmook, which he's taken before, but still is not going to be easy. So this is not exactly a super friendly. I mean, you also have KevBot has been doing very good. Faith, I could see that being beneficial, being Sheik Marth. But yeah, so this is going to be a bit tough for Krudo, but props to entering. And even still, you also have Battle BC. That's going to be wide open. I could definitely see another top 8 performance. I think that Krudo can string some things together and is definitely someone to expect to keep making those long bracket runs. We see that has not gotten a Zane win, but outside of that has beaten a lot of players, sometimes like fairly often. On this, I think this is, yeah, it was including online. But even with Moki, 4-1 on Wizrobe, a lot of those being local, but still good. Even with Mango, win on Jmook, almost even with Josh Man. A lot of good wins here. Nikki's gonna be tough. Even with Rat Monster, Aklo, pretty difficult at times. Did get a set off of AMSA, positive on STJ. Does have Axe is doing pretty good at the Sheik matchup as a whole. Recently did lose to Spark, but Axe has a lot of experience. M2K back in the day, Jmook and Krudo more recently. And yeah, so there are certainly struggles. Sometimes Foxes, certainly Ice Climbers, even with Kim. But yeah, I think that Krudo can definitely pull some things together. Does have a couple weaker matchups, but I think is pretty consistent. Yeah, there might be some tough matchups to where people feel pretty confident against Sheik. Krudo is not the biggest tech chaser. Is a little bit more like fast paced and stylish in some ways. Sometimes it's just a solid Sheik. Doesn't always go full J-Mook about it. But like J-Mook sometimes is like tech chase and but also will go for crazy style stuff. Krudo is a little bit more in the middle for both of those. Not always in a tech chase. Sometimes we'll go for it, but also is a little bit more fundamental. But I think that can also lead to a lot of creativity in terms of like reading and adaptation. Like people know how good Krudo's potential is, and we've seen a lot of good wins. Certainly, people like Cody's figured him out. Zane hasn't dropped a set yet, but Krudo is certainly able to do good in so many different circumstances. I think overcoming ICs and getting that Zane win would definitely be top of his list. But overall, Krudo is pretty cool to watch. Maybe not people's favorite, but I think that people that know Melee appreciate Krudo, and we could maybe see Krudo come back to being the best Sheik. And it's a tall task. Sheik is pretty popular currently, but yeah, I am looking forward to see Krudo at Creed and Battle of BC and all these other stuff. So, big ups to Krudo.